RCMP website, Tabul has been a Mountie since 1997 and in his current role since 2024. Now, the trial of a man charged with stabbing 3 people at a Vancouver Chinatown festival 2 years ago has concluded. Blair Donnelly is facing 3 counts of aggravated assault, and a justice will now decide if the 66-year-old is criminally responsible for the violence. Now, his lawyer argued his client, who's been diagnosed with schizophrenia, was suffering from religious delusions and incapable of making morally grounded and rational decisions. But the Crown prosecutor disagreed, saying Donnelly's testimony showed he was wrestling with doing something he knew was wrong, and that means he does not meet the legal threshold to be found not criminally responsible. Now, the case is scheduled to return to court on October 24th for judgment. And a push for action to prevent intimate partner violence was one of the topics addressed in Ottawa. Now, Premier David Eby raised the issue with federal ministers yesterday. He cited the killing of Bailey McCourt, who was a Kelowna woman who was attacked in a parking lot in July. Now, McCourt's ex-husband has been charged with second-degree murder, and the federal Conservative MP for Kamloops Thompson Nicola is calling on the federal government to create a new criminal offense of assault on an intimate partner.
There's a fundamental difference between assaulting somebody at the bar or on the street and assaulting an intimate partner behind closed doors, a relationship often of psychological and economic dependence.
Now, Caputo's private members bill also says anyone who kills an intimate partner should be automatically charged with first-degree murder, and that's something that McCourt's family has pushed for as well. And in Burnaby, federal officials announced a $1.5 billion top-up in funding to affordable housing projects across the country. Housing Minister Gregor Robertson says he recognizes the challenges people are facing when it comes to finding a home.
In addition to the $1.5 billion that is being topped up in the Affordable Housing Fund, we are also adding $385 million for the rapid housing stream. In the months ahead, it's being pulled forward from future years to respond to the real crisis with homelessness and making sure we're investing in supportive and transitional housing urgently.
Now, they also announced $90 million being put toward a new affordable housing complex in Burnaby. Now, the units will include studios, 1-bedroom apartments to 3-bedroom apartments. 150 rental units will be open for applications by next summer. And that's it for now. I am Jessica Chung, and you are watching CBC News BC. Stay tuned for much more continuous local coverage. And of course, BC Today is up next.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. On today's show, Apple to apples. Okay, stay with me. I'll explain. In our first half hour, the Apple iPhone 17 goes on sale today. Have we reached peak consumer tech? If you're interested or just fatigued and priced out, give us a call. After 12:30, BC's Apple Harvest is upon us, and Chef Ned Bell will join us. We'll take your calls. You can send a shout out to your own favorite homegrown apple variety. We have a BC Today blanket to give away as well. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. Thanks for joining us on CBC Radio 1, CBC Television, and live streaming as well. And you can call us now. Are you interested in new technology like the iPhone 17, or do you have tech fatigue? Have we reached peak consumer tech? Our numbers 604-669-3733, or you can dial 1-800-825-5950. You can also just hit pound 690. Our email is bctoday@cbc.ca, or you can leave a comment on TikTok, which you might be on your phone. Well, today's the day Apple's new line of tech devices hits store shelves.
Apple design has always been fundamental to who we are and what we do. For us, design goes beyond just how something looks or feels. Design is also how it works. This philosophy guides everything we do, including the products we're going to introduce today and the experiences they provide. From the magical listening experience with AirPods to the ways your Apple Watch keeps you healthy, active, and connected, to how iPhone helps you with so many things throughout your day. It's also true of our new software design featuring our innovative liquid glass. It brings fluidity, vitality, and flexibility to the things you do every day. It's absolutely gorgeous and delivers a more intuitive and delightful user experience.
That is Apple CEO Tim Cook from the product launch, trying to convince you to buy a new Apple product. And you can get your hands on a new iPhone 17 for a cool $1,100. Yeah, that's right. In addition, the tech giant is also out with the iPhone Air. And some new wireless headphones and new watches as well. Facebook owner Meta is also out with new smart glasses. So how different are these new devices compared to their previous generations? We're going to talk about that. Asking you, do you think we've reached peak consumer tech? Are you interested in these new products, or do you miss the old ones? Are you kind of tired of new technology or perhaps just priced out? We want to hear from you. If you're excited about it, let us know too. You can call us now. Just hit pound 690 on your cell phone, or dial 1-800-825-5950 or 604-669-3733. You can email us, bctoday@cbc.ca, taking your comments on TikTok as well. I have two guests with me for this half hour. Andy Baryer is a freelance tech technologist, and Rubina Ahmed-Haq is a CBC business columnist. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Thanks for being with us. So Andy, I understand you actually have gotten your hands on these new Apple devices. Can you I see you're holding one up there right now. It looks like it's like sea breeze blue or seagrass blue or something like that.
Sage green.
Sage green.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fancy. Tell us what you think so far. What do you have there, and what do you think?
Yeah, so Michelle, I'm holding up the iPhone 17 series. So there are three phones. You have the base model iPhone 17, you have the Pro model, the iPhone 17 Pro, but Apple this year introduced a new iPhone model, and that's this one that I'm holding in my hand, the iPhone Air. This is the thinnest iPhone Apple has ever made. It's essentially almost all screen and battery except on the back. They had to make compromises where the Pro model has 3 cameras, the base model has 2 cameras. This iPhone Air only has the 1 camera. But again, 5.6 millimeters thin. It is incredibly thin, feels great in the pocket. And Apple says it's more durable and scratch resistant than ever. So you might not even need a case, they say, with this phone because it has so much protection on both the screen and on the back.
And so, Andy, do we need more new iPhones?
Well, here's the thing, Michelle. The iPhone camera is the most popular camera. So when we talk about an iPhone, we're really talking about a device that does a lot of things, including taking calls. And most people can't imagine living without their smartphone these days. It's for most people, about 80 or 90% people, that's the first thing they check in the morning, even before they go to the bathroom. So we are a tech-crazed society just because we depend on it. The question is, are people excited about always getting the latest and greatest? And, that's what we're going to find out because now the iPhone 17 was released today.
Right. Yes. Okay. And so what do we know, Rubina, of the appetite among consumers for new iPhones?
So there's definitely diehard Apple fans where a new piece of technology comes out, so the iPhone 17, and they will be the first to buy it, review it, show it to their friends. And then there's others, like my mom today, she has an iPhone 8. And so she asked me, should I be getting a new iPhone? I don't really see the point of me getting a new phone. Your brother thinks I should get one. And so there's that sort of extreme as well, where there's people who just don't see a point of replacing an item that's working perfectly fine, and there's no reason to go spend, $1,100 is the base price. If you want to add more memory and you want a bigger phone, you're going to pay even more for that. So there is an appetite, but I do think it is waning. I think that there were, in the beginning when the iPhone first came out and the changes were really dramatic, like you wanted that better camera, you wanted the ability to talk to Siri, you wanted, other things that you had to have the latest phone. Now it doesn't seem as dramatic, and maybe people are not as excited about buying something that's only going to be slightly different, but cost them, $1,000 plus to get.
My guest, Andy Baryer, freelance tech journalist, and Rubina Ahmed-Haq is a CBC business columnist. So in light of the release of the new Apple iPhone 17, we're asking you, are you interested, or do you have tech fatigue? Are you priced out? We want to know. I want to get a sense of that appetite out there. And have we reached peak consumer tech? I'd love to hear from you. Our numbers are 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, or just hit pound 690 on that old phone that you've got. iPhone 8, you can still do it for now. Email us to bctoday@cbc.ca, or if you're watching us on TikTok, you can leave a comment there. TJ is on the line in Vancouver. Hi, TJ.
Hey, hello. Thanks for having me. It just makes me wish that I sometimes long for that time when I had my old Nokia 3310. I had that phone for 2 years. It never broke down. I could get reception everywhere. I dropped it in puddles. It was totally fine. And now they build in the obsolescence, so I have to get updates to everything, even the hardware, more frequently than that. So that's part of it for me.
TJ, the Nokia 3310, is that old gray brick phone?
Yeah, the blue-gray one, yeah.
Like going back to Saved by the Bell days?
I don't know if it was that far back, but I was bartending at the time, so I think I was about 24 years old. So I put it around like 2002, 2003.
Okay, not that far back. You make a really great point there. Thank you very much, TJ. That planned obsolescence, how real is that when it comes to these products that, expect that they're going to either just last a few years or they won't be able to keep up with new updates, Andy?
Yeah, so planned obsolescence, that essentially means, and everybody knows this, when you buy a brand new phone, you got that all-day battery life. But after about 2-3 years, you start to notice that you can't go a full day without that battery. And that's because it's using lithium-ion batteries. They have so many charge cycles. But now especially with Apple, they have Apple Intelligence. And to take advantage of Apple Intelligence, all of that processing is happening at the chip level. So a lot of the older phones that don't have that new M chips, or even MacBooks that don't have it, you have to upgrade to take advantage of that. And so this is the problem, is for the software to keep advancing, it needs better hardware. And so when you have an older phone, that's why you'll notice that at some point in time, you're unable to update certain apps because it says you need to upgrade to the new iOS.
Right.
So when you try to upgrade the new iOS, it says, actually, this device is not compatible with that new software upgrade. So that's when you have to get a new phone. But typically, people are trying to make their phones last for about 2 to 3 years before they make an upgrade. And I commend anybody that that can go longer than 3 years. That's incredible.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I've got my 10R still, 10XR for
Wow.
many years now. It's still hanging in there. I want to put this to you, Andy. We have a comment on TikTok. Android is better, years ahead. Okay, Andy, your thoughts on that?
Well, that's always the big debate.
Yeah.
You have the two camps, the Apple fanboys and then Android. And so whenever they have a big announcement, say Apple's recent announcement, the Android folks will be like, well, we already had that on the Android phone. So it's nice to see that the Apple users can get that as well. So it's kind of a tit for tat. I would like to see a third phone. We had Microsoft was in that arena for a while, but they were out. We saw Huawei tried to make entry into North America, but that, obviously changed. So we kind of have just two choices, but it would be nice if we had just a third option. But I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
That's a really interesting point. Rubina, what are your thoughts on that, on the market itself and diversity within the market?
Well, there isn't very much diversity in Canada. 60% of us carry an Apple iPhone. And so that really does speak to the fact that, there isn't very much choice. And then if you have a MacBook, you have other Apple products, then you don't want to get out of that ecosystem and get an Android because it doesn't work with everything. How frustrating is it when someone doesn't have an Apple phone and you text them and you don't know whether they've received the text? And there's all these other things that come with just being in that ecosystem. But, one thing I've always found frustrating with Apple is that and I know that they are changing this, is that they continue to change their chargers. So you've got to buy the new charger to go with the new phone, which I know is changing now, where they're not allowed to do that as much anymore. Yeah. But that's a point of frustration where we've all got boxes and boxes of wires sitting in our house of things that are just obsolete. They don't work anymore. And if we had more competition, maybe it would be easier for all of them to work together, because they would have to. Because if there was 10 different options out there, you would have to be able to work all of them together. And I think that would be a much nicer way to create competition than just have these two choices out of which one seems to dominate.
That's a really good point about the chargers. When you think about the amount of tech waste as well that can come of that as a result. Let's take another call here, asking you, in light of the new iPhone 17, new tech products coming out today, have we reached peak consumer tech? Are you interested and excited about these products, or are you kind of feeling that tech fatigue and perhaps even priced out? They are not cheap. So you can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, or just hit pound 690. And lots of emails are coming in to bctoday@cbc.ca as well. Tim is calling from Surrey with a question for Andy. Hi, Tim.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, for whoever can answer this. As I was saying to your screener, it's a naive question, but with all the technology, if it's so efficient and wonderful in Marvy, why is it, in a naive question, that you cannot maintain the 4G or 3G network services? I would like to know why that is, but I think part of it is what your guest probably aptly described as, is it planned obsolescence? Because to me, I guess you don't want somebody having the same phone for 10 years. Can somebody explain that maybe? Thanks.
Tim, thank you very much. Andy, okay, yeah. So maintaining the 3G, 4G networks, was that feasible, or is that feasible? Or?
Well, I think it really comes down to the network providers that are providing the cellular signals, because they are all moving, well, right now, 4G and of course 5G. So those, and they do make them backwards compatible, but at some point they're just going to be like, you know what, we really don't need to do the 3G anymore. And we have to remember now we have satellite connectivity, because with the Apple iPhone, if you get lost and you have no cellular connection, you can do what's SOS and get emergency contacts to let you know where you are. That's a great feature, especially in Canada, where there's a lot of, backcountry where there's no cellular coverage. So it's a great safety feature as well. But with these old networks, they're moving away, and I think the phone manufacturers are going to do as well.
We have some emails here. Yes, Mina Lee writes, what happens with old phones? Where do they go after people dispose of them? I know there is a system for recycling old technology, perhaps donate them. Can you give us some options there?
Yeah, so you can go to any kind of recycling depot that will take electronics, and those phones are recycled. There's a lot of components in there that are really materials that are really expensive. So they try to reuse all of that. And of course, if you say want to upgrade your phone, and we were talking about this earlier, Rubina was mentioning it, how people have to have the latest and greatest. We call those the early adopters. And once a new phone gets announced, they'll start making plans of selling their old phone either on the market, or Apple even has a reselling program where you can trade your own phone in to get a new one. So there is it's small. There are people out there that have to have the latest and greatest. It's kind of the status symbol of our generation. It used to be a Cadillac. When you made it, you get yourself a Cadillac. Then it was a red Corvette. In this day and age, it's a premium phone that really is that status symbol in this digital age that we live in.
Wow, it's so it's a little difficult for me to comprehend and to reconcile the early adopters and the cost of that, and wanting to be at the at the forefront of everything, and that's great. But knowing that we are in this affordability crisis, and I'm just wondering how you can try to compete, or what that means for people in terms of their own household finances. Rubina, what are your thoughts and any advice on that?
I mean, you have to budget if you're going to be buying a phone. You're spending sometimes, $1,100, like we said, is like the base price for it. My best advice is, if you're buying a brand new phone, is hang on to all of the boxes and the papers they come with, because if you are going to try to sell that later, that's going to make it more valuable, that it's in the original box, it's got all the original wires. So don't throw all of that stuff out. Keep it. That's what I do. I also recommend that you try to buy the phone outright rather than being on a plan with a company. It gives you a little bit of leeway when it comes to the kind of plans you can sign up for. Companies will often, like cell phone companies, will often offer you better plans if you bring your own phone. It is a privileged position to be in, definitely, to pay for your phone up front. There are now buy now, pay later programs where you can amortize your payment over time. So you sort of do what the cell phone company would do. Yeah, and but you would pay for it. You would pay for it over many, many months, but you own the phone outright.
Okay, we have a great call here from Bruce at Green Lake. Hi, Bruce.
Hey there. Good afternoon to you, Michelle, and your guests. I'm going to speak as fast as I can, which is often a problem. I really want to give a shout to Apple for what they've done over time with enhancing the accessibility features. I'm totally blind. I use an iPhone as a part of my day-to-day life to communicate with my daughter by text messaging. I'm able to maintain my professional connections by virtue that there is something called text-to-speech on the phone. And really, as much as anything, I would like to ask your guests or comment to your guests on behalf of our peer group. And my peer group could be people who've got limited dexterity, limited vision, down to now what we would see as being what is the benefits of texting for people that are deaf and or hard of hearing, in the ability to be part of an inclusive society. I'd really like to just give Apple a shout, and to your colleague, your guest, Michelle, for helping to keep that part of Apple's commitment as high as possible in terms of product development and design and getting feedback consumers. There is something, and I'll end on this, a new phone comes out, we end up with a muscle memory, and that's a way of doing something on the phone, and then they go ahead and change it, and we're going, no, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. So are you wondering, for the new versions, is it worthwhile even Great. I don't know. If my battery goes on my phone, my wife is my tech helper. She's very, very conversant and good at this kind of stuff. But I don't look forward, Michelle, to the day that I'm going to have to replace the phone I've got right now, for the simple reason of what you said, and that's the actual functionality on how it actually is operated by somebody who can't see. Bruce, great to hear from you. What an excellent point you make. Thank you very much. And so, Andy, how would you compare the accessibility features then on newer technology?
Yeah, so Apple does a great job on two fronts. One, the accessibility. I know people. I have a friend who's completely blind, and he is the most tech-savvy iPhone user I know. And watching him navigate the iPhone and getting into all the different settings and screens is just amazing how he does it. And the second thing that Apple has done really well is privacy. So if you're concerned about your privacy and surfing the web, they do a phenomenal job. And they'll tell you, this website is trying to track you. Do you want to allow them to track you? And you can just say no. A lot of the app developers are not happy about that with Apple. But, if privacy and accessibility are two concerns of you, Apple is definitely the way to go.
Okay, and Rubina, any thoughts on that as well? What people can consider if it's time to move to a new phone?
I mean, it's time to move to a new phone, almost like when it's time to move to a new car. It's when that piece of technology is no longer working for you. You're not able to complete daily tasks. And as Andy mentioned, the battery isn't lasting all day. And so those things are frustrating. I'm not somebody that changes phones just because the new one comes out. I wait until my phone becomes too clunky and it's not charging long enough. And that's when I change it. So that would be my advice, is that, unless you are one of these sort of Apple enthusiasts where you have to have the latest and greatest, is just like with a car, wait until it actually needs replacing. You don't buy a brand new Mazda every year just because you like Mazda, as an example. It should be the same kind of point of view when it comes to your technology. You replace it when it doesn't work for you anymore, and it has features that you can't get on your phone, and it would help you in your life if you were to get the new one.
So great to speak with you both today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Rubina Ahmed-Haq is a business columnist for CBC, and Andy Baryer is a freelance technology journalist. Lots of emails coming in. Randy writes, many Apple products are placed out of commission by Apple simply by denying support. Planned obsolescence, more like predatory denial of service, written on my 7-year-old Samsung Android. Judy writes, I have a Samsung Galaxy Grand Prime I bought in June 2016, still working. Battery runs down a little faster. I turn it off overnight. Cost me $250, good deal. And Michelle writes, not to insult Apple people, but iPhones are the Tesla of the mobile world. Whereas Android shares apps, chord changes, and meeting and messaging functions, etc. Sorry, not sorry. A lot of other opinions there. Thank you very much. You can email us bctoday@cbc.ca. Lots more of your emails to yesterday's program as well. The fallout continues after ABC pulled Jimmy Kimmel off the air indefinitely following his comments about the assassination of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk. Last night, other Late Show hosts Jon Stewart, Seth Meyers, and Jimmy Fallon threw their support behind Kimmel and made pointed commentary about censorship. We took your calls yesterday and we got more emails from you. Patty writes from Duncan, what is happening south of the border is unbelievable and shocking. This may be the tipping point for this new administration, and what happens next is very worrisome. Toby writes from Salt Spring Island, is this about free speech or rather FOT, fear of Trump? The whole area of communications in the U.S. now in fear of licensing and funding being withheld by a president and his cronies. This is because there seems to be no aspect of corporate and political life in the U.S. that is not based on the almighty dollar. Katie writes, this is complete hypocrisy. So it's okay to have freedom of speech from the right, but not the left. This is a very terrifying time where a president is now gaining control of what we see and hear. And Barry writes from Nanaimo, there was a show on Knowledge Network about Georgian kings by historian Lucy Worsley about satire existing in England. It was also spread by the technological advice of printed paper. Printed satire brought the public into active participation with politics and democracy. It was a strong democratic advance to permit this kind of free speech that became a legacy our democracy has today. Thank you very much for all of your emails. You can keep sending them, bctoday@cbc.ca. 12:30 now. You're with BC Today. I'm Michelle Elliott. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, we're going apple to apples this hour on the show. We've done the tech. Now we're going to move on into apples you can actually take a bite out of. We're going to talk about the apple season in BC and ask you for your favorite varieties with Chef Ned Bell coming up in our next half hour. Right now it is time for a CBC News update. And here's Robert Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. A high-ranking BC RCMP officer has been charged with 2 counts of assault and 1 count of assault by choking. Details of the alleged assaults were not released, but the prosecution service says the charges against RCMP Assistant Commissioner David Thibault involved 2 people and were while he was off duty. Thibault is scheduled in court October 9th. Crown Counsel says the man accused of stabbing 3 people at a Chinatown festival in Vancouver 2 years ago does not meet the legal threshold to be determined not criminally responsible. Prosecutors have been presenting closing submissions in the Blair Donnelly case. Donnelly's lawyer has argued his client does meet the threshold, noting that he suffers from schizophrenia. And Environment Canada has issued a rainfall warning for northwestern BC in the areas near Stewart and along the Alaskan Panhandle. Up to 90 millimeters is expected. The warning says the heaviest rain is expected tonight before tapering off late tomorrow. And now the rest of the forecast on the north coast. Rain this afternoon with strong winds and a high of 14. Highs around 21 with a mix of sun and cloud in the Peace. In the central interior, including Prince George, some sun and cloud with a high of 19. Highs getting close to 30 with lots of sunshine this afternoon in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, including Kelowna, sunny with a high of 29. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria, and the Fraser Valley, mainly sunny this afternoon with highs around 22. That's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
Thank you so much, Rob. That's Rob Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Now, the Farmer's Almanac has been predicting long-range weather for more than 200 years, and some people swear by it, while some meteorologists get a little twitchy. Johanna Wagstaff wanted to find out how much science is really behind it.
These little books have promised long-range weather forecasts for about 230 years, but do they actually work? The oldest of the almanacs is the Old Farmer's Almanac, published in 1792.
You know, I think a lot of people wish it was folklore, like, you know, we took a chicken and spun it around or looked at the woolly bear caterpillars.
And that's what I assumed too, that it was folksy wisdom rooted in observational truth, red skies at night, that sort of thing. But it turns out the forecasts mainly come from sunspots. Now, sunspots do signal increased solar magnetic activity, but their effect on Earth's weather is tiny compared to factors like greenhouse gas emissions. I was pleasantly surprised to hear them acknowledge climate change, but folding it into a sunspot formula doesn't suddenly make the science stack up. While science-based seasonal outlooks rely on ocean signals, decades of data, supercomputer models, they're improving, but only about 60% accurate with less detail. Seasonal forecasting is tough for everyone. But the thing is, people might not be looking for that kind of accuracy from an almanac.
We talk about phenology. So when the lilacs are coming out, it's time to plant the peas or the potatoes. You know, this idea that we can look at what's around us. And yes, there's a certainty to the shape of the seasons. And I think that is what people are craving, is this idea that we are part of something larger. You know, we're all connected by this earth. We're looking out for her. And we do that in different ways.
Whether it's a 200-year-old book or a weather app that you're checking for the long range, the key is staying connected to the natural and warming world around you.
It's 12:34 now. Thanks for joining us here on BC Today. Yes, BC's apple harvest season is now on a roll. Those apple festivals are underway. Parksville has one happening tomorrow, Souk on Sunday. Next week, Salt Spring Island, Summerland celebrating apples as well. And of course, UBC's Apple Festival comes up in October. Are you excited yet? Let us know, what is your own favorite homegrown apple variety? From the Ambrosia to the Spartan to Red Delicious. Take your pick and let us know how you like to prepare them or serve them or enjoy them. And call us now. Just hit pound 690 on your cell phone or dial 1-800-825-5950 604-669-3733. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. And thanks for joining us on TikTok. You can leave your comment there to your favorite BC apple variety. We will give away a warm BC Today blanket that you can enjoy while you go to your local apple farm, and that'll be up for one of our lucky callers this afternoon. I'm joined here in studio by Ned Bell, chef and ambassador with By BC. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Michelle. I'm happy to be here.
It's very nice to see you. I think the last time you were in the Okanagan still, right? And we talked via Zoom.
Well, luckily for me, I've been on the show a lot, so I'm not always sure where I might be.
Which time, Michelle? This time of year, I know a lot of people think of the PSL, the pumpkin spice latte, but how about apples? I always think about, oh my God, it's apple season.
This is my very favorite time of year. I mean, I was born in the summer, so I love the summer. Summer's in the Okanagan, definitely, and of course all over the province, but when fall is in the air, I just start thinking about different delicious things, soothing flavors and sweet and salty and savory and braised and roasted and caramelized. And oh my gosh, just apples scream all of that.
It's amazing how much you can actually do with apples
I
as
think,
you list those things.
Absolutely. I mean, apples, what I mentioned is that they're sweet. They're sour, they're tangy, they're savory, they're crunchy. They can be nice with a little bit of salt. So they kind of go with all kinds of different things. Yeah. And that's what I think makes them so versatile.
Yeah, with a nice slice of cheese on top.
Oh my gosh, my very favorite, apples and cheddar.
Oh yes. Do you know how many apple varieties we have here in this province?
Well, dozens and dozens. We grow about 133 million pounds, or produce about 133 million pounds. There's about 500 orchardists in the province. And of course, that's families. That's families growing things for our tables that need us to look for those apples when we go grocery shopping. Yeah. And so there's, such a deep history of orchardists in British Columbia. And, the orchardists were here before the viticulturalists, if you think about sort of apples and wine in the Okanagan, for instance. And
so it should be as synonymous with British Columbia and the Okanagan.
Well, we might have to talk to Justin about including apples in his BC symbol, because of cherries and peaches. I would make a case for apples.
Next bracket, best BC apple. There you have it.
That's right. There's a lot of them.
We're getting some calls already, and I do want to ask you what your favorite is. So keep that in mind, Ned. Chef Ned Bell is with me, of course, renowned chef and also spokesperson or ambassador with By BC. And we're taking your calls. Let us know, what is your favorite BC homegrown apple variety? How do you like to serve it? So many ways. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, or just hit pound 690 on your possibly Apple phone, maybe an Android. And you can also email us, of course, bctoday@cbc.ca. On TikTok, we're at CBC British Columbia. And Kim is calling us from Vancouver. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Happy apple season.
Thank you. I've actually met Ned. Ned, we've ridden bikes together before.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. So my favorite apple is actually called the Cosmic Crunch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And my question is it new? Because I don't recall seeing it before, for a long time.
Well, if I may, there are about 50 different varieties that we grow in British Columbia. The Cosmic Crunch sounds like a newer one. I don't know for sure all the history of apples, but it does sound like a delicious one. And I think I've had one of those before. Maybe it was on the back of a bike, too. Who knows?
I have been seeing it more. I agree with you. I feel as if I've been seeing Cosmic Crunch more frequently in the stores. Why do you like it?
Well, I mean, it speaks to its name for sure.
Is it out of this world?
It's really good. I've renamed it to the Sparkly Apple just because I think it's cute. But they're delicious. That's all I can say.
We'll try to look up what. Yeah, thank you very much. Are you heading out for a bike ride, Kim?
I just finished hiking my dogs, so maybe I'll go get some apples.
There you go, Kim. Thank you so much for the call. We'll try to get to the bottom of how new the Cosmic Crunch is for you as well. We'll put your name in the draw for a blanket as well, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you for the call. We have an email here from Layla who writes, my favorite are the early first transparent to eat, fresh, and then dehydrate with cinnamon. Oh yeah, they are my winter candy. I love so many different heritage apples. A grower in Salt Spring grows over 100 heritage varieties and brings them to the Moss Street Market. I try to buy try as many as possible. I also make apple butter. Oh yeah, I love apple butter with spices and vanilla pods. So good.
I love apple butter too.
Love that. Thank you very much for that, Layla. And again, it's BC Today at cbc.ca. Let's head to Kelowna now. Yeah, just go straight to the source. And Suk is on the line. Hi, Suk.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. Thanks for calling in. And what apple variety did you want to talk about?
I like the Honeycrisp myself. And my second favorite would be the Ambrosia.
That's my personal favorite.
I have a little tidbit about ambrosia.
Yes, go ahead.
They were found by mistake in Coston, and in fact, the oldest ambrosia apple tree is still producing in Coston, which is pretty cool.
Oh my goodness, yes, but I remember reading that it was like in the 90s, like fairly not
decades
too
ago,
long ago, but yeah. And Suk, tell us about the I love ambrosia. That is my favorite. The different varieties, why you like them, and is there a special way you like to enjoy them, or just?
Well, I just like them fresh, and the Honeycrisp is nice and soft and crunchy.
Yeah.
Where the Ambrosia is a little bit firmer, but it's still got a really good flavor. And you know what? The best apples by far grown anywhere in the world is right here in the Okanagan Valley.
Well, exactly. I don't think too many people would argue with you on that.
Yeah, about 90% of the apples in BC are grown between the Okanagan and the Similkameen, so Suk's got a point.
Suk, thank you so much for the call. The Ambrosia and the Honeycrisp votes from Suk there, and also just saying, yeah, this is a place to be when it comes to apples, right in the Okanagan. Let's take some more calls now. Lots of emails coming in. Oh my goodness. Okay, BC Today at cbc.ca. Susan writes, I grew up in Ontario where the ideal apple is the Northern Spy. It is great for eating and best for making apple pie. In fact, the cans of apple pie filling contain the Northern Spy. Oh, isn't that a great little tidbit? Thank you very much, Susan. I'll go through your emails as well, so we'll keep them coming. BC Today at cbc.ca. If you want to give us a call and put your name in the draw for a BC Today blanket, it is for one of our callers, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, or just hit pound 690 on your cell phone. And I know that the Okanagan was, where it kind of started, but we have growers around the province now, right?
Yeah, we grow in the shoe shop, we grow in Creston, as I mentioned, the Similkameen and the Okanagan, where a good percentage of the apples are grown. But certainly, with 133 million pounds of fruit, that's a lot of orchardists and tree fruit growers producing some pretty darn delicious things.
How are they doing this year, the orchards and the growers?
Yeah, I think every year for farming is difficult, and of course, relies heavily on consistency in the weather. So, with our springs being a very important thing for sort of, blossom and bud break, so to speak, and then leading into hot summers and cool falls, that's kind of the perfect season for apples to thrive. So this year has been kind of that. So I think we will see a good harvest overall, and I was just out at an orchardist in the Fraser Valley, Taves Family Farm, and they have just an incredible pumpkin sort of maze at the same time, and they grow dozens and dozens of different varieties. So visit your local apple grower, and if you can't buy them in the grocery store, go harvest them yourselves. Why not?
Oh, how fun! Something to do with your family for sure. Let's head to Suk, actually, and over to the island. And Jacqueline is calling us now. Hi, Jacqueline. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I can say I love a wide variety of apples if I'm going to eat one. But this time of year, I do a lot of baking and cooking. Unlike the last caller, highlighting the Spy, I find the best apples for baking are Macintosh, and they're a kind of an old-timey variety. I also grew up in Ontario, and I find them very hard to find.
Oh, okay. Can you tell me, I'll ask Ned about that, but can you tell me what it is about the Macintosh that you find ideal for baking?
Well, it's got that beautiful combination of crispness, but tartness as well. When you combine it with some sugar and cinnamon, little bit of lemon juice, it's heaven.
Oh my gosh, Jacqueline, any tips you want to share with us for baking a pie?
They say I make the best pie crust.
Oh,
my
wow.
family and friends. So
lay it on us.
The big secret is the pie crust recipe on the back of the Crisco box. If you follow it to a T, as my mother did and her mother before her, it produces flaky crust each and every time. It also helps to use a pastry cloth and a pastry rolling pin cover. There's something about the amount of absorption of the fat. And I'm not a chemist, but I just know it works. It's foolproof every time.
Yeah. Well, you're the local legend for the apple pie crust with your top secret recipe. Jacqueline, thank you so much. Love your suggestion here and your tips as well for baking. So the Macintosh. What are your own tips? And do you have a favorite for baking specifically, Ned?
Well, certainly we have, the favorite, apples are, it's like a popularity contest.
Yeah,
What I mean? Like everybody has their favorites, but it's also a popularity contest in the grocery store. So, depending on what is of the moment, you'll see a lot of those apples. And so, of course, as that person mentioned, there was 100 varieties of some heritage varieties being grown on Salt Spring. And then I mentioned there was about 50 varieties that are sort of in the winning maybe the popularity contest, right, because of sort of where our tastes are today and how they continue to evolve, et cetera. And of course, storage has a lot to do with that. So how much we grow, where they're grown, because, if they are more popular in the Okanagan or the Similkameen, where 90% are grown, then they're going to be, kept in cold storage and drew from. The challenge, of course, is that you can grow lots and lots of apples in other places in the world, too. So this is why we really have to look for by BC branded apples, apples that are grown here by farmers and orchardists, because apples are not the most expensive crop, but they take an immense amount of effort. And so we need to keep those dollars in those communities by really, like I've left a grocery store and gone to another grocery store because they haven't had BC apples. And that sounds like a bit of an effort, but I think it's an effort worthwhile.
That is, we're hearing that from consumers, right? With the elbows up movement and things like that. Are you seeing more of an interest?
Absolutely. I mean, amongst my peer group, amongst the retailers that I work with, the food system is not. It's very complicated, and a lot of it has to do with many things. Price, of course, being paramount for a lot of those choices that people make. Of course, affordability, et cetera.
Absolutely.
But I would say things like apples. This time of year, apples and squash, and the larger crops that are being produced. Those are the ones we should be supporting now.
Yaja wrote us, I have been eating apples all my life. I could say almost every day. This year, I am enjoying the Gravenstein kind of apples from the Pemberton area. This morning, I sat in the sun and shared a big Gravenstein apple with my husband and a new puppy. Yummy. I just eat it in wedges and delight in the crunch and the distinct, delicious, justy taste. Next on my list is to make an apple crisp and applesauce, which I will freeze for winter. Happy munching, everyone.
I also love Gravenstein. Sorry to jump in.
No,
They're
please
like
do.
a yellow fleshed apple with a yellow skin. They're just delicious and really, really good for baking.
Okay, there you go. Really good for baking. I love that she just enjoyed one just this morning in the sunshine. What a beautiful description. Thank you very much, Yaja. Laura is our next caller in Burnaby now. Hi, Laura. What's your favorite homegrown BC apple variety?
Hi, how are you?
I am fine, yeah.
I really like the Gala apple. It's always really like crisp and juicy when you bite into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like grating it over like yogurt or oatmeal just to like sweeten things up. And my kids love it. We just grate it with a like cheese grater over yogurt or oatmeal, and then add a little bit of cinnamon, and it just adds that nice sweetness without adding any sugar or anything like that.
And pardon me, Laura, I jumped in there, but did you say you have kids who enjoy the gala apples?
They do, yeah. It's one of their favorites. And the green apple, because it's kind of tart.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you very much for your call. And I'm just thinking the gala apple, I do find like it is very common, isn't it now? My kids really loved it too.
Yeah, and what I like about the gala is it's the perfect size for a lunch kit because it's not too big.
That must be it. That must be why a lot of kids enjoy it. Put it for those little bento boxes. Laura, thank you very much for your call. We have another vote for the Macintosh. It's not a bracket, okay? I'm not Justin McElroy, but thank you for your votes, in quotes. Richard is on the line from Highway 1. Hi, Richard.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. What's your favorite kind of apple? I already gave it away, Macintosh, but tell us why.
Tried and true Macintosh. All those flash in the pans, they're good once in a while. Always come back to Macintosh for eating and or baking.
Old school is the best school.
Richard.
Canadian growth.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Richard. Did we hear earlier that they're harder to find? Or no, am I making...
The Macs, they're just not grown at the same quantity. So yes, they would be a little bit harder to find because the ones like the more popular ones, Ambrosia and Gala, we have more trees growing those.
Flash in the pan.
I would also love to show a little bit of love to the other things that come from apples. Juice and cider, sparkling cider, right? Like apple juice can go into a lot of different recipes. In fact, like why not a couple of pounds of local clams and mussels with apple juice and butter and a loaf of bread? Takes like 5 minutes and there you've got dinner in the middle of the table. You could even chop a bunch of apples in there and why not? I mean, talk about a delicious dinner available all year long from right here.
Oh my goodness, yes, done, absolutely. And cider, and especially when you go to the different festivals, they often have such a nice variety of
absolutely.
cider.
I mean, if you buy the apple cider from those local orchardists, you don't really know where the apple juice, the clear juice, is actually coming from, like where the apple, the apples themselves are coming from. So usually you can be pretty sure that the cider is coming from a local farm.
I have many memories of heading to Kelowna and doing a little farm tour and tasting some lovely cider at the end of the tour. It's like so good and refreshing after a hot day. Doug is on the line at Salmon Arm. Hi, Doug. You have a few you want to talk about.
I do. How are you doing today?
I am very well. Thanks for calling in.
So Salmon Arm has an apple fest, and it's around Thanksgiving.
Lovely.
But I have 4 favorites. So I have like the little small crab apple.
Yeah.
They can be red and yellow and orange all in one go. And they make great jelly. They're tart and they're just, they make the lips pucker and they're just delicious. And then I like the original, the Macintosh and the Red Delicious. And I also like Honeycrisp.
Yes, we had, I've been having some Honeycrisp apples myself lately, actually. But yeah, we had someone call in for that as well. Go ahead, Doug, go ahead.
The reason why I like Max and Red Delicious is actually a couple of reasons. One, I had Max growing up right on in the yard I lived in.
Oh, yeah.
And Red Delicious. So I like my Max actually just before they're ripe. I like them tart. And I just like green apples, so I would just go out and pick an apple from the tree and just eat it like that. And sort of the same as Red Delicious.
That's a polarizing apple.
They are,
yeah.
Right? And then I do have a question. So my question is, 60, 70, 80 years ago, the Shuswap was it was known as an apple-producing region. And like Salmon Arm got world prizes for the apples that were grown here. When did the shift of the Okanagan being the predominant area for apples become? And then there was a lady talking about baking apple pies with Max. My dad is the king of apple pies here in Salmon Arm. In February, we have a Heritage Week, and he's entered his pies for the last 15 or 20 years, and he probably has won 14 of the last 20 years. And they have an auction, and his pies go for sale anywhere from $5,000 to $14,000.
What?
And yeah, and his secret is two things: the same as the lady who talked about, the recipe on the back of the tender flake or the Crisco recipe, but his other secret is he filters the creation through his fingers, and he has cold hands, and he says that makes a real difference too.
Yeah, again, we're not chemists, but yeah, Doug, thank you so much for that. Yeah, what do you think of that strategy, that tactic, the cold?
I think it's absolutely true, because then the butter doesn't melt, it stays flaky. And to answer, I don't know the exact answer of the question as to when the shoe swap flipped to the Okanagan. I could guess, but I wouldn't necessarily want to. But I would assume it might have had something to do with availability, like shipping apples in and out of the region. Maybe it had something to do with, available land in the Okanagan or something. Maybe. But yeah, it's definitely. I mean, Shoe Swap's still a big producer of apples, just not quite at the same scale.
Love the call, Doug. Thank you very much. Let's squeeze in Betty Ann in Vernon. Hi, Betty Ann.
Good afternoon. I'm going to kind of pick one that everybody else or a few folks have. A Honeycrisp. I just devoured the most delicious Honeycrisp apple just from a local grower in Coldstream, which is like 10 minutes away. Bought a nice big 10-pound bag, and they won't last very long. So Honeycrisp, but I love all kinds of apples, and like somebody else said, I try to eat one every day. They're just so delicious. Absolutely delicious. One little tip: my friend has some apple trees, and she has transparents. And I made applesauce, but I thought I am not peeling these apples, so I just diced them so small that you cannot you can't tell that there's apple peel in there. So no more peeling apples to make applesauce.
Oh my God! Yeah, what a way to use the whole fruit, Betty Ann.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for the call. I have under a minute left. I need to ask you, do you have a favorite variety?
Gravenstein's for sure.
That's the one. Okay.
But I would also challenge people, why not make a pan-seared salmon dish with an apple chutney or apple relish? Super simple, right? A little bit of apple cider vinegar and some honey or something. And then maybe garnish it with some local hazelnuts. Like go local with some sort of a squash puree would be very autumnal and delicious.
I need a sweater.
Sweet, sour, salty,
sweater.
Tangy.
And in fact, we have a BC Today warm blanket to give away to Jacqueline and Souk. Ned, nice to see you. Thanks you so
Michelle.
much. Ned Bell, chef and ambassador with Buy BC.